It's time for a little crafting science as we make a journal of technique experiments. Do a little chemistry to create glop or blubber, or whatever you want to call it. And test out some prehistoric lookalikes with casting materials. And finally, take our experiments outside for a test on floating with our own boat. All today on Hands On.
Hands On is made possible by Elmer's Products Incorporated, manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business. Elmers.com. Floracraft Foam. Make it fun. MakeItFunCrafts.com.
Hi, I'm Candie Cooper, and we thought we would conduct a series of crafting experiments on today's show. We all like to ask what if. If I add this, what will happen? And if I use this material, what will I get? We never stop learning and experimenting, so first I'm making this book of experiments. Page through with me using all different materials as I figured out just what will happen and recorded the results. Let's take a look. I've got this big book, and it starts out Art Experiments by me, Candie. Then you turn the page, and this is where my experiments actually start. I've got some leaf rubbings, and I've recorded what I've done on each page. Sponge painting, some painted chenille stems. Turn the page, and I've got some more sponge painting and some feather painting. Let's see what you might use to make your own experiments. You're going to need some paint, some feathers, wiggly eyes, some leaves, some bark, decorative papers, the chenille stem, crayons, a couple different kinds of glue, some white glue and a glue stick, permanent markers, a book, and a ruler. Okay, to get started, I just want to kind of show you some different ideas of things you can do and experiments you can try. One of my favorites is actually doing leaf rubbings. And to do this, you're going to need a crayon. But you can see I've actually removed the paper because you want to use the side of your crayon. So you're just going to lay it, oops, I actually want brown for this one. You're just going to lay it on the side of your bark. And look, it actually looks kind of cool when you blend the two colors together, which is another experiment. And you can see how I'm picking up the texture of the bark. I've got a piece right here. And I've done the same things with some leaves. If you do a leaf, you want to put the veiny side up. And now we'll switch over to the green. And you can run over it just like so. And look how fast that leaf pops out from the page. So there's a couple of your first ideas. Now, another idea is to actually paint a chenille stem. And all you're going to do is dip your paint, brush in some paint, and then paint over it. And I went ahead and coiled. This is a full length of chenille stem. And let me just show you really quickly. You just take it and you coil it like so to make a spiral. And you just would go until the end. And you leave it kind of loose so it looks like springy. Okay, now you're going to paint this entire thing. If it's too hard to get in the cracks and crevices, add a little water. It's no big deal. But you see how that changes the texture of the chenille stem? Let me set it on a solid paper. From this to this, here it's all bristly, and here it's all smooth. Okay, another idea is to use a square sponge. I actually cut a larger sponge into squares. And you're just going to dip it in some paint, and then onto another surface. Make sure it's evenly coated, and then you can push down to make the exact shape of the sponge. Okay, Now, let's get started with our actual experiments book. I've gone ahead and started by base coating the pages. You can see I've got my square sponges, and I actually used a sponge like this, and I'm going to show you again on our yellow sample paper over here, to make some clouds, just like so. It's that easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on the sponge spot. And you're just going to go over it with a permanent marker, and it'll be a surprise what I'm making. And I'm going to add a square down here. And I'm going to go like this. And I need a little bit of grass. Can you guess what it's going to be? And we can add some more lines like this. And I need my glue stick. And I just cut a piece of paper into a triangle shape and put that right on top. And you can also go ahead and outline. And now I'm even experimenting with putting markers on paint, so it adds to the whole experimenting theme. The next thing I'm going to do is make a leaf rubbing tree. Remember our tree bark piece? I've cut that into the shape of a trunk, into the trunk of a tree. Say that 10 times fast. And then I've cut out our leaf shape, and I'm going to put those two together. And now you have a tree to go with your house. And then let's move on over to our snail. Remember our sponge painted clouds? Go ahead and outline those with another blue crayon to make them look a lot like clouds. Nice and cartoony. And then here's our painted chenille stem. This one I did in purple. You're going to use a different kind of glue for this and put a nice swirl on. You can use your finger to kind of rub that out. And then push that into place, like so. But this snail isn't quite finished because he can't see. Now we're talking. Okay, and you can keep adding embellishments. Remember, you can use a permanent marker to write what you did on each section. To finish it off, we need a cover. And I've covered mine, with the art experiments, and I just wanted to show you, I printed this little piece of paper on my printer with art experiments. If you want to make them nice and crisp, this is another fun experiment, tearing paper in a straight line using a ruler or a straight edge. You just pull upward, and then you get a nice strip of paper with your experiments. So let's take a look at my book one last time to take one more look at my experiments. We've got some leaf rubbings, some sponge painted clouds, a painted chenille stem, and some more square sponge painting into buildings and city skylines, and some feather painting. What happens when you add glue to different materials? You end up with this squishy, colorful, slimy stuff. Whatever you call it, it's a lot of fun. Let me show you what I've got here. Got my little decorated container, and on the inside I've got this crazy stuff called flubber or blubber or slime, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Let's take a look at what we need. You'll definitely need some measuring devices so our experiments don't go way wrong. Some permanent markers, papers, a large circle hole punch maybe, some clear plastic tape, clear containers, glue sticks, food coloring, 4 bottles of 4-ounce glue, some borax, and some measuring spoons and bowls. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is make a container to hold our slimy stuff. So I've got one that I've started here, and all I've done is taken a clear container and decorated it with permanent markers. And you can see that kind of is going to start your slimy border on the top. Then, for the top part, you're going to take your lid and add a label. And to do that, I've just used a hole punch like this and punched a circle. And let's use a blue permanent marker to write flubber. And you can add some dots and doodles around the edges. I've got one that I've already done here. And then I traced around my lid to make a bigger circle to sit on the inside. And I've actually got some slime on my fingers right there. Let me get that out of the way first. Then, when you have it just like you like it, let's glue this down first. Some glue sticks. We're going to seal it all together with some tape. And that makes it so the paper is protected from your slimy fingers. Like so. And then what you would do is just cut this piece out and glue it to the top of your lid like you can see in our finished project here. Now for the fun part, let's make some slime. Okay, we're going to start with a couple big mixing bowls. The first mixture you're going to make takes 4 bottles of school glue. I've already put 3.5 in, but what I like to do is just take the lid off and just squish as much out as I can possibly get. And you want to squish the top, move the glue all the way down to the bottom, and then give the bottom one last big squeeze. And then you can add your favorite color. I'm going to make mine blue today. And then we're going to mix 1.5 cups water with our glue mixture. And I pre-measured the 1.5 cups, so I'm good to go here. Let's stir this up a little bit to get the glue nice and mixed with the water. And this will take a second. You might also use a whisk. I love the way this blue slime looks in this green colored bowl though. The next thing you're going to do is grab some borax. And while I'm stirring this, I can kind of talk about borax. Borax is found in the laundry detergent section of the supermarket. It looks like this. Maybe you can have a friend measure out 4 tablespoons of borax and put with 1 1/3 cups of water. I've already done this ahead of time, so I'm going to go ahead and dump this over here. This is multitasking at its finest. Let me get the rest of the borax. Sometimes the borax settles to the bottom, so you want to make sure that you get that all stirred up before we put the two together. This is an experiment after all. You can see how that kind of stirs up really easily. Okay, this is coming together. I think it would be okay if you used your fingers or your hands to mix this up too. That would be fun. This glue is non-toxic, so it's not going to hurt your skin. And we're almost there. You just want to make sure there's no major swirls going around. Swirls of white with the blue. You want it nice and mixed up. Now in my recipe, and we'll have this recipe online, it says to pour the first mixture on top of the second mixture. So since we made the glue first, we're going to pour that onto our borax mixture. Are you ready? Let's see. I think that's good. Okay, let me give this borax and water mixture one last swish. Looks good. Okay, here we go. Let's watch these two react together. There it goes. Do you see how it instantly turns into slime? Is that not the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life? I'm using a rubber spatula to make sure I get all of my glue mixed out. And you're probably going to want to make more than one container to hold your slime because this makes a lot of stuff. Now, you don't really have to mix this part here, but I kind of like to help it along. Plus, it's fun to put my fingers in this stuff. But you just kind of want to let this stuff mix in and let the glue mixture soak up the water overnight. And you can see once it's sat overnight, how it kind of gets firmer as it goes. But let me just hold this up so I can show you. Isn't that crazy? It's so fun. So this is your next experiment, making flubber or blubber or whatever you want to call it. I love it. It's my favorite thing we've done so far. And I know you're going to have a blast with this. Start with pipe cleaners and end up with these prehistoric fossils in miniature. I tried out a lot of different possibilities for making these models. Let's take a look. So I've put together this little play stand that's full of sand, but if you look under the sand, you're going to find some dinosaur bones. Let's take a look at what we need to make our own dinosaurs. You'll need some chenille stems, some sand in different colors, plaster and plaster cloth, some mixing bowls and water, and we're ready to get started. So the first thing you're going to do is actually build your dinosaur bone structure from chenille stems. And what I did is looked at some play dinosaurs like the ones in front of me to get the overall shape. But I just simply start with a head, and then it's going to come down. I'm making a brontosaur, and it's got a hump like that, and then it has a long tail. We'll ignore the tail for now. Then you're going to need to wrap some legs like so. And you've got some ribs, and these are just short. You can make them look like a real dinosaur, or you can come up with your own fantasy dinosaur. Remember, it's all about experimenting. But you're just going to keep continuing, making a couple more ribs, some back legs, and a tail. Take a look at the one I've got in front of me. I have actually added, once I got my basic frame, I went back with a second round of pipe cleaners and went over each and every section. Now for the fun part. We're going to actually cover the dinosaur bones in plaster cloth. So the first thing we need to do, plaster cloth comes like this in a coil. You're going to cut some little 6-inch sections into strips like so. And what this is cloth that's been coated in plaster, and all we have to do is wet it, put it over our dinosaur structure, and then let it dry, and that's going to make it really, really strong. Okay, so I've got a bowl of water right here, and you're just going to dip your strip in, and I'm going to start with the neck on this one, and you can just wrap it around and around. You can see I've already started on his leg, and it helps to kind of work on a couple of these at a time so that you can let one set up and get strong and then work on a different section so he doesn't collapse. Okay, and you're just going to continue covering them in the plaster cloth. Now, to smooth them out a little bit, we're going to mix up some regular plaster. And I've got a bowl, it comes just like this, like a powder form. And you're just going to add a little bit of water. And this is where I just kind of use my eye to see what consistency. It doesn't have to be thick because you're just brushing it over your plaster cloth that's already hardened. You want it to be kind of like whole milk consistency, kind of creamy. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got one that I've already started here. You're just going to brush over the dinosaur in different sections. Let's try it on the one we were just working on. And it kind of just see how it just kind of smooths out all of your little lumps and bumps and makes it look like bones. You just want to make sure that you make sure that your dinosaur is in the final shape that you want it before you put the plaster on. So make sure you get all the bending done first, and then, because once the plaster sets up, if you bend it, it's going to crack, and that's a bad experiment. So let's take a look at the finished project. You can see I've got some other pipe cleaner dino shapes that we've come up with. I got my friends together and we made a bunch of different ones because everybody makes different style things. And so I've got these down in the sandbox. To do the play stand here, I mixed 3 different colors of sand together. This was another experiment. I put white sand, orange sand, and yellow sand together, 3 large bags to make this colored sand. And that makes it neat too. But you can make whatever crazy color sand you want. And then you can bury your dinos in the sand, and then use a brush to excavate them. Another fun thing to do would be to paint them with other fun colors. You could make them like crazy blue dinosaurs, or you could do them in browns to make them look really, really old. Whatever you decide, I know you're gonna love making your own dinosaurs at home. What floats? What materials make the lightest boat? Check out this boat I've brought with me today. I've built it out of foam. I'm pretty sure it's lightweight. We're gonna make our own and see if this thing will float after a bit. Let's see what we need to make it. You're going to need some foam blocks and a foam sheet, paintbrushes, a craft spoon, some craft sticks, string, a couple thumbtacks, a skewer, some rubber bands, some tape in sheet form, some foam cutting tools, a craft knife, some acrylic paint, glue in school glue and thick craft glue, and some wire cutters like I have right here. And I think that's it, and we're ready to get started. The first thing we're gonna need to do is make the sail, because that takes a little bit of time to set up. The pattern for the sail is on our website. I've gone ahead and cut a triangle from just a lightweight cotton fabric. That's important because it's going to be at the top of your boat, so you want it to be pretty lightweight fabric. You don't want to use something like wool or heavy craft felt. But I'm just going to coat the sail in glue and then put a skewer right down the center. And then you're going to fold it in half. And it needs a little bit of adjustment here. Don't worry if it sticks out the top. And you're gonna just smooth that glue out with your fingers. I'm working on wax paper because this is messy and it won't stick once it's set up. Now, what I like to do is add a little bit more glue on top, and this seals it so it's nice and stiff. And perhaps waterproof. Okay, so we're gonna set that aside to dry, and we'll be taking a look at one here in a minute. Okay, next thing we're going to do is work on the boat. Now this boat I've already constructed right here, so we can kind of see how it looks as we build it. You're gonna need your project bricks and a piece of foam sheet. Now I'm gonna use this one to build on, and we're gonna start with some thick craft glue along the back line. You're just gonna put a line like so. And you want to leave these a little bit of space in between these, because that is where the rudder is going to go. We're going to make a rudder in a little bit out of a craft spoon. And you're going to put 2 project bricks on the side. Now your boat, we're all engineers here, so you can build your boat however you like. Okay, now we're going to put some on the other side. Now I am not the most precise measurer, so I just kind of wing this part, but I try to cut this next brick right in half. You can sand the 2 together to get rid of those extra fuzzies. And then you're gonna cut another one. Oops, that one stuck to my finger. But you want the thick craft glue because it sits on top of the surface. And then you wanna cut this one at an angle. But that's what makes the foam stick together. So when you cut one at an angle, this will sit at the side and give it a point. Let's look at this one that I have here. See how I've cut those at angles and brings it to the side? Now you can find all of these patterns on the website. Once you have your boat all securely stuck together, you're going to want to leave this to set up really well before you cut into it. But you can just saw these extra sides with your knife here to remove them. And then again, you can sand it with another piece of foam to remove all of these fuzzies. When you're finished, you can paint the boat whatever color you want. I'm doing brown because I want it to look like a ship. So I've got one ready right here. And now we're going to add some sideboards with craft sticks. And to do that, you're just going to paint, I would say paint about 8 to 10 craft sticks red, like so, and do half as many in another color. Well, you can choose your 2 colors, but you need about 10 of one color and 5 of another. And I've got some teal ones and red ones ready right here. And so then you're going to get your thick glue out again. And we're just going to glue these sides in a row. Let's take a look at this one I have ready. So back to our sail, you're going to just pop this right in the middle. Before we do that, we can grab our craft knife, and I've got a protective surface underneath. And you're going to just cut a slit. And before you use your craft knife, you're going to want to grab a parent to help you out with that section because craft knives are sharp. But you can see I've already made some little sticker sails out of the duct tape. I just cut little triangles and then stuck them over the sides. And then you're going to stick this in right in the front. And you might want to put a little bit of glue on that before you jump to the next part. Now to make the rudder, I've just taken a craft spoon, cut the end off and painted it brown. Okay, now let's see if this thing's going to float. You can add details like the rope and rudder. Here we go. Are we ready to set sail? Yes, we are. Thanks for watching. We just might need this boat for our next show as we head out to the sea next time on Hands On.
Projects and ideas from today's show, plus hundreds of other kids' craft projects for every occasion, season, and even school subject, are available on the web at craftsforkids.com. This is show 1507. Hands On is made possible by Elmer's Products Incorporated, manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business. Elmers.com. Floracraft Foam. Make it fun. MakeItFunCrafts.com.